Hello everyone, in this video we're going to be having a look at a full HD tour of Windows Neptune. Now as you can see I've already got quite a bit going on, and there's a reason for this. This is because of the first thing we're going to get to, and now this is the first video I've attempted in this sort of series to make a sort of really high quality video, apart from me just waffling on all the time. So the first thing you need to do is browse to, well, when you're actually in Windows Neptune, if you want to get the activity centers, which is the first thing we're going to talk about. They were basically a new sort of concept of design for the entire Windows user interface. As you're about to see, the first thing you need to do is insert your CD into the optical drive, and you need to navigate to i386 and find this file, accore.dll, or acore, or whatever you want to call it. And you need to get system32 open, which is on your C drive, or whatever drive you prefer to call your Windows installation. So basically you need to copy this file, and over here you just paste it anywhere. So that is now in your system32 directory. So you can quite safely just close these two. And the next thing you're going to need to do is open run, which as you can see here I've got open. Now this is the command you've got to type in: reg svr32 space accore.dll. Press enter, and you should get this message. If you don't get this message, recheck your previous steps, and then obviously just recheck your command just to make sure you haven't put a spelling error in or anything like that. So now click OK and run again, and the next command you need to do is this. That is your command. Press enter, and now you'll see this folder called activity. Now this has copied the files over from your optical drive onto your actual physical hard drive. Now what you need to do, well, these are basically your files, and these are the activity center files. So if I go to start, for example, start page, where it would all sort of begin. If I double click on this HTML document, you can see this is, expecting this to work like Windows 7, it's not going to work. So this is basically what they had in mind. So if I think what I can do, I'll get out of this. There's a way you can set this as your background. Right, so this is basically what they wanted the Windows user interface to look like. Ignore the IE5 bar at the top there, but this is basically everything here. So if I give you a quick tour around what does work, and that is very limited, I think, well, you'll find it quite interesting. For example, I'm going to start off down here on customize this page. Now as you can see, it's got all the quick links down the side here and an unassigned section there, and it's got all sorts of different interesting things really. For example, if I wanted to add my network places, I just click on that, press save, and then that's done. We have two different themes. It's this nice blue one and this, what I think is horrible one called Jump, but I prefer the default theme. And yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting really. So let's go back. Well, another thing I've noticed on this, it hasn't got any back arrows either, which is quite annoying. Now obviously this was meant as a full screen interface, and there's probably nothing else meant to be on here. You know what this really reminds me of? How you've got a full screen interface, which is all meant to be like a start menu sort of thing. It reminds me of Windows 8. Now, obviously, as you can see, Windows 8 is interesting because obviously it's this full screen start menu interface, which is interesting because after all these years, this was released in 1999. After all these years, they've actually revisited it in 2012 and actually made that a proper operating system. Perhaps not as good as you'd expect, and that's probably one of the reasons why they scrapped this, because they never thought it would catch on, and in real life it hasn't. But yeah, so if you click on, for example, recent programs, like more down here, you'll actually see all your programs, which is quite interesting. Files and folders, that basically opens all of your desktop icons. And we've got several other things. These are other pages. So help and support, that opens just the usual help and support. Now this is interesting because it is sort of, I don't know really, it sort of looks like the Windows ME 2000 mix of all everything really. Oh. Yeah, that is strange. That basically explains everything. I mean, the slight problem with this though is, how is an old granny going to know what a 16-bit DLC protocol is, or anything like that? So it is a bit sort of, in some areas it's a bit complicated for the inexperienced users. Assisted support, beta test of Neptune OS. Wow. Tools and tutorials. Now here, this is interesting because it says this is a list of Millennium tours and tutorials, and this is like Millennium was the codename for obviously Windows ME State Edition, and over here it says Neptune. So I wonder if that's what they were just going to come up with. It would just be Neptune OS, or like Microsoft OS or whatever. That is very interesting. Click on the Microsoft one. Oh, that's interesting. That was sort of like another sort of working one there. Games doesn't work. Photos doesn't work. Music doesn't work. Documents, well that's lame. Documents just goes to WordPad. Internet is going to open the dreaded IE. No, it wants me to click to modem. Email, this is going to open, maybe not, the hideous Outlook, I think it is. And yeah, so that's basically the activity centres in all their not very good working glory. And yeah, I mean, it's a customised page again. Oh, that's interesting. I mean, there are lots of other pages as well. For example, if I go to game or whatever, there is a way home. Yeah, there we go, home. Oh dear, it's warning me about. Don't show me this warning. Okay. Okay, so I can click a game to play it. Ow. So basically, this opens a sort of a somewhat mini Explorer window. That's weird. Oh, I wonder if I can find like Minesweeper or something and then just see if it... Maybe not. Right, so that is quite interesting. Unfortunately I can't find any games, but shall I play a web game? Yeah, that just opens an Explorer window. View most recent. And that just opens this Explorer window again. Remove games. It just all goes back to the same thing. That's it. Music. Okay. Open a few. That doesn't work. Home. There we are. So this is what the music one would look like. Shall we play a CD? It doesn't work. Create a playlist. There we are, playlist. Okay, so change your playlist for the CD. Unfortunately, we don't have... Oh, these don't seem to be working. Play a CD, shall we do that? No. Right, so that doesn't work either. Photos. That one just doesn't work at all. Let's try home, shall we? Oh, the joys of old versions of Internet Explorer, eh? Not working in the slightest. I think we might have a crash. Oh, maybe not. Might be loading slowly. Right, so that is basically that for the activity centres. As you can see, it was quite interesting. Let's just open Task Manager. Into the task. Right. Okay, so next things next. Well, we could generally just have a sort of play around. But let's have a look at the login screen. Okay, so this is the login screen. As you can see, it's a full screen interface, which is actually very similar to the Windows XP one. Turn off computer down here, does work. So let's log back into Administrator. I just love that sound. In fact, let's log back out, because we do have a guest account, which I don't think you can... Yeah, well, that's basically that. I literally just... So much for a full HD, nice and streamlined video. Are we in the right account? I think we are. Okay, so that's the login screen, and as you could tell, it's pretty nice. Now let's have a look at the settings. Okay, so we've still got this sort of classic layout. We do have some quick icons down the bottom here, like technical support, Windows Update. Let's go to Windows Update for a laugh, shall we? Let's do LAN. Don't want to set up an internet mail account. Oh dear. Well, it seems the networking isn't quite working properly at all. Alright, so, well, that's weird as well, because it hasn't got whatever icon was there. So let's have a look at control panel properly now. Right, like I say, it's still got this sort of classic layout, and it's a shame Windows Update didn't work. I was hoping we could get a free upgrade to Windows 10. So basically, let's have a look at the first thing which interested me, Windows identities. Now this is basically user accounts, and as you can see it's some sort of HTML page. Where's the other one? Well, there isn't. They've done away with the Windows user account ones and just stuck with this. Now this is actually obviously part of that activity center sort of layout, and it's a lot different from the other one really, because this time it's identities and it's all posh and XP like, and it's all what do you want to do, when on the other one it was just sort of a slightly more simplistic layout and not this sort of elegant sort of look really. Anyway, so we can see the user accounts here. You can change your picture, change your name, change your account type, or change your password. And these are other Windows accounts. So, no, don't want to do that. Shall we create an account? What shall we call it? Let's call it Ubuntu. So basically, you can change the account type, so it could be a guest account, a child account, an adult account, or an owner account, and it gives you a bit of information about these. I don't know the space in between them, but I suppose it is quite basic at this stage. So yeah, you get mostly adult. It can make standard changes, like obviously installing applications and adding a bit of hardware. A child account can be monitored, which is actually what they introduced properly in Windows Vista. And well, these are basically what came about in Vista, because obviously you had a child account in Vista, but I don't think you had one in XP, which is interesting. And yeah, so well, done changing Ubuntu, so that is basically that. So shall we have a look at the next thing? Obviously we've had a look at the help center, which is interesting, and now we could have a look at the Windows Update client. So let's close this. Now I believe the command is WU, got it written down here, WU AU HTML dot DLL, so WAU HTML. Oh dear. Did I just type that in wrong? I probably did. DLL. I'm typing the wrong command, hang on. Alright, finally. We can see down here, welcome to auto update. Now, if I click on that, I think it does something. Or maybe not. Oh, it's down here, is it? There we are. Okay, so this is basically auto update, which we see in all later versions of Windows. Originally, you had to obviously go online to Windows Update and do it all manually, but this one is actually automatic, which is quite nice. So let's have a look. Options. Notify me only when updates are ready to be installed. Notify me when updates are available. And this is basically exactly the same as they turned out to be in sort of like all later versions of Windows, which is actually quite interesting. And it's still got this funny layout, how it's got these funny little bars down the side of the screen. And it does actually look quite nice. And I mean, do I accept or do I not accept the placeholder legal agreement? That I don't accept. I accept that. So that was interesting. And then that just goes off and does absolutely nothing. So the next thing we're going to be having a look at is the firewall. Now I think this is in Area Connection Properties. Okay, so this is sharing. So we can see here enable firewall mode for this connection. If you just tick that, that is basically your extremely primitive firewall enabled, which doesn't hardly work. So basically that was what was introduced. Well, a more upgraded version of that was what was introduced in Windows XP, which was extremely interesting because obviously that was one of the main features, and that was one of the big security things that came out in XP. And yeah, I mean, it's just really good that they even got that. Anyway, there's another interesting program which I'm going to show you now, which is called Keyring. Okay, so this opens this little program here. The following keys are in your keyring. So shall we add one? Oh wow. Okay, so this is basically, I think you can type like web addresses into there and things, and then it will save a username, a password, and wow. Apparently it's an internal Microsoft tool, so that is really interesting. And obviously that would be what was to become obviously password savers in Windows Internet Explorer 6. I think they're introduced in Internet Explorer 6 and 7. Anyway, shall we have a look at the other one? One Touch. Oh dear. Oh. Do I still have the ISO mounted? Yes, okay. So it is in the ISO, go away. It is in the ISO 5386. Would be handy if it included obviously how to find it. down to O. There it is, look, 61 kilobytes. So, let's just, no, in fact, let's leave it there and just open it from there. Okay, so this is now, well, this is really interesting. So this is basically sort of, well, it downloads, it's meant to download files from Microsoft, and then basically it would install this on your computer, install it in your computer like that. You know what this really reminds me of? It reminds me of the Windows 10 setup, when, well, when it was free anyway, and you could just, like, go on it, it would download the ISO from the internet, and then it would install on the computer like that. Now this is extremely similar, and, well, it's funny because it had a screen like this with just install and exit setup, so that's, well, I think it did anyway, so that is really interesting. And wow, so let's just press install and it does absolutely nothing. Okay, so after that you can't even launch the application anymore, but never fear. So let's move on to the next one, and now this appeared on basically when I first booted this, but I couldn't save anything because my computer just decided to not like him anymore. Okay, so now this is the next thing. Close out all this. Down there we go. Okay, creating the first Windows identity. So this is basically, I think what this was meant to be, it was an experimental feature. As you can see down here, it's a pre-release Microsoft utility. So basically, I think they were going to do away with like entering your user account like during the actual setup process, and you'd actually get to the desktop, then enter like your name for the user account, and then that account would sort of like be the administrator account. So that's, I mean, it is quite interesting. Now there is quite a few other things as well. So let's just close out of this now. So let's go themes. Now this one is incredibly interesting because I don't think you can get there by doing this. So obviously we don't have, well, we do have like the original, we have the original obviously display properties theme down here, which would be shipped in XP, but we also have this. Now this is basically, oh, let's have a look, shall we? It's basically like meant to set a new theme for Windows, and let's just have a look. Basically, I don't think this works properly. Or does it? Yes, it does. Well, it works in some ways. But when it's playing the sound, apparently, that is really complicated for it because it has to come up with the never-ending time of death. But yeah, so, well, that's quite interesting because obviously it's got all the themes up there, but there's obviously no other themes, and you can't access the screensaver on this, which is quite unfortunate, but oh well. So let's just close out of that. Now let's go and have a look at something else. So now this is evidence that there was a earlier build of Neptune. Maybe not. Basically, Yeah, that's not going to work. Oh well, and there's also references of like a Windows Neptune server, but it's, yeah, it could be a typo or something. And I mean, there are such small sort of subtle things in this, which actually is all really quite interesting. And I mean, obviously, yeah, I just find it really interesting. All these funny little things which are left over in such an ancient build of Windows, and yeah, oh well. So basically, I think that just about wraps up this video, really. And yeah, so it's just. Oh, there's another one here actually, which is basically the same. Yeah. So let's just. So that's basically summed up for this video, really, and I mean, it's got so many things in it that would turn up years later. Like this, for example, it's just so funny how it turned up in Windows 8, and even on the ultra modern Windows phone, it has like this full screen sort of start menu interface, and it's still around and it's still alive, and that's what makes this really interesting. So yeah, basically, I do hope you all enjoyed this video, and it's now hibernating, so I'll see you all in the next one if I can escape from this virtual machine. But yeah, this is another interesting thing, how it hibernates as well. It should close any second now. Right, so that's good. Don't know why my computer's playing up.